Hi, this is Ruby D of Ruby D Artistry, and this video is an informational video by request by one of my aunts, and she wanted me to do a video on what's needed for a makeup kit. And I'll try to keep it as short as possible, but in my opinion, what's needed in a makeup kit: one, foundations, which it can either be liquid foundations, this is Revlon Color Stay, or either a cream foundation, which I personally use my Graftobian palette, and it's basically just a palette of cream foundations. And this is how it looks. This is the warm palette. They have 3 palettes, neutral, warm, and cool. This is the warm one. I will be including the other 2, but make sure you have your foundations, whether it be cream or liquid. Also have concealer palettes or concealers. This is my Eclipse palette, which includes different shades of concealers and correctors. And I also have the camouflage palette from Coastal Scents, which you've seen me use before in my other tutorials. So make sure you have concealers. Next will be eyeshadow palettes, which they can either be palettes such as this one, which this is from Profusion, which is just a neutral palette, or it can be a palette such as this one, which is 2 layers here. But this is, I have several different eyeshadow palettes: Coastal Scents, BH Cosmetics, ELF, these palettes here that I just showed, the Profusion. And I have several Wet n Wild palettes that I use as well. So make sure you have eyeshadows as well. If you have individuals, that's fine. You can depot them and put them in a Z palette. Make sure you have blushes. I've used Wet n Wild blushes. I also have La Femme, which they're very good, very pigmented. Have those as well. Make sure you have a variety of colors. You always want variety, depending on what your clientele is. If your clientele is going to be basically every shade there is to have, then you want to have everything in your kit that's going to cover that. Next, you definitely want plenty of brushes, and yeah, I need to wash these. But you definitely want to have plenty of brushes. I'd say maybe 2 to 3 of every brush. You don't have to take them all the time, but when you're doing a bigger job, you don't want to keep using the same brushes over and over again. So it's best to have a couple of each kind so you can change. You want to have everything. Also have like your different bases, your primers, oil control. I use Milk of Magnesia as my primer. I also use like the ELF eyelid primer. I use Color Tattoos as a base. I use the NYX Jumbo Pencil and Milk as a base. I even use regular eyeliners as a base. So you want to have that. You also want to have your lipsticks, your lip liners, eyeliners, lip glosses. Make sure, again, you have a variety of colors, a variety of different finishes. Now, don't go overboard. You don't need this huge like makeup kit. Just make sure you have enough to cover your bases. You have your neutrals, you have your reds. Make sure you have a few other colors in there, lip glosses. So make sure you have that. Make sure you have your powders, your setting powders. I use Ben Nye. I use my Studio Fix sometimes. I use the F clarifying powder and Spice. I even use my Wet n Wild bronzer. This I actually have on today. But hey, I've even seen how that works well. I like using this because it gives me It sets my powders and gives me just a little bit of shimmer without it being too overbearing. You definitely want to include brush cleaners. Make sure you have a brush belt. Make sure you have alcohol. I use 91%. Make sure you have your makeup wipes. Yeah, they come in handy. Make sure you have tape, or if you need lotion to help thin out your foundation, if you want a lighter coverage. And that's basically all I really have in mind. But of course, you know, you can add to your kit as needed, and whatever you think you need in your kit, by all means you can get it. But just always remember that when you're traveling, you have to take that kit with you, and you do not want to drag around a whole kit full of makeup, especially if it's 1 or 2 people. So I hope this was helpful for UTT. I hope, you know, other people found this helpful or was able to get some information to take away with them. And that's it. So thanks for watching. Make sure to rate, comment, subscribe. You can find me on Facebook, Ruby D Artistry. Of course, YouTube, and Instagram and Twitter at RubyD1980. Thanks for watching. Hope you have a great week. Bye-bye.